Welcome back. Now, there have been ongoing public concerns that for years now, the South African Air Force has been operating on a limited capacity to properly execute its mandate, and that in the main due to budget constraints, but also unmaintained and grounded aircraft. Now, according to a recent investigative report that was published by News 24, it's alleged that the Air Force has only 2 fighter jets, 1 helicopter and 3 fighter jet trainers as operable military aircraft. Now, with more than 330 fighter jets, helicopters and planes used to rescue wounded soldiers been lying idle for years awaiting repairs. That's what the report says. But to give us a clear indication of the veracity of this and what the current state of the South African Air Force is, we joined virtually now by spokesperson for the South African National Defence Force, Siphiwe Dlamini. Mr. Dlamini, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you to you and to your viewers and listeners, and thanks for having us on your show.
I'm sure you are aware of the allegations regarding South Africa's lack of capability when it comes to our Air Force. So can we just get indication from you about the current operational status of the Air Force?
Thank you very much, Akin. I think we acknowledge we've seen the reports, and one thing that we need to acknowledge upfront is that over a period of time we've had challenges of this nature. However, the article paints a grim picture, which in our view is not the case. In as much as we acknowledge the challenges that we've had or we are still having due to a number of reasons. 3 weeks ago, we presented a comprehensive state of the Defence Force itself, and in particular the state of each service and the Air Force itself, to the Portfolio Committee on Defence and to the Joint Standing Committee on Defence. Unfortunately, those meetings were closed meetings due to the sensitivity of and nature of the information that we were sharing with parliamentarians. And this was confirmed by the chairperson of the committee, the chairperson Lukwete, who was on air on Monday. The nature of our challenges is such that we are looking at elevating the serviceability of our aircrafts, but the information that you've seen in the press is a bit old, in the sense that there has been an improvement in the work that we've been doing to get the serviceability of the aircrafts at a level that we would be comfortable with in terms of our strategic plan and the combat readiness plan. So we've been working around the clock to improve the level of serviceability in that regard, Sakina. May I also add that one of the challenges that we need to acknowledge is that these aircrafts are mainly sourced from external manufacturers, what we call the original equipment manufacturers, the OEMs. And these OEMs in the main are European based. And if you recall that we would have bought these equipments in a dollar rate, and to service those equipments we also still need the original equipment manufacturers to be part of the repairs of that. And if you look at the dollar rate and the South African rand, it fluctuates, and it's becoming more and more expensive to service the equipment. Compounded with that is the spares itself. We're buying the spares in a dollar form. We're not buying the spares in a rand form, and that also has an impact on the budget that we have in terms of servicing this equipment. But added to that, yes.
So, and I hear you, Mr. Dlamini, and I did indicate in the introduction the budgetary constraints that the South African National Defence Force is seized with. But let's just track back to the allegations or what was stated in that report by News 24, seen it in Defence Web as well, because you say that work has now been done and suggesting that the situation has improved. So they allege that the South African Air Force has only 2 fighter jets that were operable, 1 helicopter and 3 fighter jet trainers as operable military aircraft. So let's start there. Only 2 out of 26 fighter jets operational. Is that correct? And or at that time, was it correct? And how has the situation improved now?
I wanted to come back to that, Sakina, and thanks for raising it. The reports, and I'm not going to deal with the report, the News 24 report, because it is a report that has looked at the history of where we were and not where we are now. As I said to you, we have had challenges, that's true, and that has been confirmed even by one of the analysts, which we work with closely, Mr. Heitman. And we have since been working around the clock to get the level of serviceability at a level with which we are comfortable, but not yet there, in relation to the number of aircrafts that we would like to see that are serviceable. From where the report states we only have this X number of serviceability, we have since improved from that level of serviceability to ensure that the level that we are at is comfortably within the range of our plan and our combat readiness. We have not got there yet. However, work still continues to get as far as possible closer to the combat readiness. It's going to be a long process, Sakina, we must admit that.
Yeah, with respect, Mr. Dlamini, you haven't told me anything. So how many of these fighter jets are currently combat ready?
Let me come back to you. I have, albeit I have not given you the numbers, I have indicated to you that in the last 3 weeks, we appeared before the Portfolio Committee on Defense, and we appeared before the Joint Standing Committee on Defense. These are the entities, parliamentary committees that we report to, and they are the ones that raise issues with us. We have given them a thorough analysis of where we are. And unfortunately, Sakina, those meetings were closed meetings. I can therefore not divulge what the detail of those meetings we said to the Portfolio Committee, but it was confirmed by the chairpersons of those 2 committees that indeed there was a presentation that gave the committees an analysis and the state of the Air Force in particular as to where we stand. I will emphasize again, Sakina, that there has been an improvement in relation to what we told the portfolio committees, albeit in a closed session.
So in other words, we have to take your word for it that things have improved. You can't tell us by how much it has improved, because even if you went from 2 to 4, that's an improvement. 2 to 3 is an improvement. And you are saying we have to take your word for that.
Sakina, you have to take the word for that. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. Any information that we give to the parliament committees must be ethical, must be truthful, and we swear by it. We cannot lie and tell the parliamentary committees lies. If there are challenges, we will relay to the parliamentary committees of those challenges, and we have done so. And we have informed them that we have improved in this level, and this is where we are. And fortunately, the parliamentary committees had the information, and they were comfortable with the information they gave you. We gave them, Sakina. But I must also emphasize that we are not at the level that we would like to be as the South African National Defence Force and as the Air Force. We are not there yet.
Okay.
But I can assure you
Let me ask the question differently, Mr. Dlamini. So, given the current state of affairs, like if we look at our national security at the moment, now, how does the current state of South Africa's National Defence Force air fleet affect South Africa's ability to defend our own airspace, but also to assist in fulfilling our international obligations, such as those peacekeeping missions in the Eastern DRC?
That's exactly what we're dealing with, Sakina. We work at three levels. The first level will be at a diplomatic level. And secondly, obviously, the second level will be at ensuring that our military is capacitated to a level where we can both defend the territorial integrity of the country, which I can assure you once again, Sakina, that we are in the position to defend the territorial integrity of the South African, of the Republic of South Africa. Much as we have these challenges, we are in a position to defend any adversary that might want to invade our country. Safe to say that there is no threat that will come in the foreseeable future, because all our neighbors, we have very good relationships and good diplomatic relationships, and we serve in the same region, and we would like to see the region being as peaceful as possible. So Sakina, one thing that I'll keep emphasizing is that we are striving to be at the level with which we want to be, and we are not there yet, and we will continue to work towards that.
And I think you will appreciate, Mr. Dlamini, this is scant comfort for South Africans who, coming through that Eastern DRC situation where there was a lot of criticism leveled against the SANDF with regard to the support that was given to our soldiers on that peacekeeping mission. And one has to ask the question, is this one of the reasons why they were not afforded the necessary air capability to help protect them in that situation? But also, if you remember, when the former Defence Minister, Thandi Modise, told Parliament that there were more than 200 aircraft that were in need of maintenance and inoperable, again, it does leave one a bit anxious as a South African when you think of our capability. So how do you reassure South Africans that we are, in fact, in a position to defend ourselves?
The picture you've painted, Sakina, is very correct. At that time when Minister Modise gave a report again to the parliamentary committees, she was reflecting on a situation that prevailed at that time. And we have since moved slightly away from that situation. And we've given a report. In fact, our report was based on what was reported by the then minister in Parliament. And we've given the report because the questions were being asked to us on the basis of where you guys were in 2022-23 to date, where are you? And we were responding in relation to that. So that report that was given then was a basis of saying to us, this is to the committee, this is where we are now in relation to the serviceability of our aircrafts. And Sakina, the apprehension, as you say, of South Africans in relation to whether they can sleep peacefully at night is correct. And we want to assure South Africans that in spite of all the challenges that we're having, we are a defense force that is prepared and is up to what it requires itself to be. And we will continue to assure our people in relation to they are being defended by the South African National Defence Force, albeit with those challenges that we have.
So has the country been able to acquire any new military aircraft, Mr. Dlamini?
No. There hasn't been any acquisition thus far. We still are working on the equipment that we have. Some which the good thing about Defence Force equipment is that they can last for a period of 10 to 15, 20 years, as long as Sakina, like you're raising, the maintenance is continued at a level and at an acceptable level. Because if we don't maintain our equipment, and then it deteriorates even quicker than if we keep it at a level which we are all comfortable with. So it's important that we keep our equipment, be it aircraft or any other equipment, at a level that is maintained such that it lasts even longer. If we don't use this equipment and maintain it the way it's supposed to be, it then loses its capability. We lose the capability, and to renew that capability can take us more years than we would. You can imagine.
So would it be correct to say that some of those aircraft cannot be fixed at all? And also, what is the current status of the SAAF maintenance contracts at the moment?
Sakina, I am aware that earlier I spoke about internal and external processes. Remember, we have an agency that looks after our contracts, and I'm aware that they have been working, our agency, which is AMSCO, has been working around the clock to ensure that we have our contracts in place, because there was one other challenge that we had, that our contracts were not in place. But I'm aware that AMSCO has been working on contracting out the work, and obviously Dinel, which is the key role player in this, has also presented their plans to the minister in the past week or two, if I'm not mistaken, in relation to maintaining and servicing our equipment. And without Dinel,
hence I'm asking the question, Mr. Dlamini, what is the status of those maintenance contracts? Are they in place? Are they operable at the moment? What is the status of those maintenance contracts?
Yeah, you are correct. There's one contract that I can confirm that has been put in place. Unfortunately, the contract is with the UK partner who are dealing with our C-130s. And I'm happy to say to you that 2 of those aircrafts are almost completed, and they should be back home. And the other contracts that is looking at the other capabilities are also being put in place if they are not in place already.
So the C-130s, those are the ones that are used for airlift capability.
That's what we call, the airlift capability.
How many of those do we have?
You mean the service,
in total?
The serviceability one, or in total?
In total.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't have the numbers with me, but we have well over 10 of them.
And how many of them are now currently operable?
I can safely say around 3 of them are operable.
So that's one contract. How many contracts should there be in place in a fully functional situation, Mr. Dlamini?
You see, this is how we work. There are contracts with different equipment manufacturers, the original equipment manufacturers, right? You would have several contracts with different equipment manufacturers because you need to buy spares from different people. You would then have one contract that looks after the entire fleet. And that entire fleet is looked after by a South African-based company which has a relationship with those OEMs. And those OEMs would then be working together with the South African-based company, which in this case, in our case, would be our military company called Dinel. So we
Mr.
would have
Dlamini?
all those. Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, we have to leave it there, and I'm loath to do this, but unfortunately, we are hopelessly out of time. So I would have loved to hear more about how many contracts we ought to have and how many we actually have in place right now for maintenance work. But we have to leave it there. Mr. Siphiwe Dlamini is the spokesperson for the South African National Defence Force, talking to us about the state of the South African Air Force and its capability to protect the country's airspace and also fulfill international obligations.